We British are often regarded as polite and intelligent. However, there's a dark side to British society, one which has helped to grow some of the world's most evil serial killers. Today, we'll be going through the top 5 most evil British serial killers. Number 5. Jack the Ripper. Our first case is the most famous on this list. Jack the Ripper caused terror across the city of London. He's said to be responsible for up to 11 murders, and maybe more, in East London between 1888 and 1891. Jack would target vulnerable prostitutes using the cover of darkness as his cloak as he slashed the throats and stomachs of at least 5 women. He is possibly responsible for the deaths of up to 11 women. Still to this day, no one knows who Jack was. It's truly one of Britain's and possibly the world's great mysteries. Number 4. Robert Black. Black's job driving across Britain allowed him to fuel his taste for blood. Between 1981 and 1986, Black sexually assaulted and took the lives of 4 girls, often dumping their bodies hundreds of miles from their home. The effort to catch Black is one of the largest criminal investigations to have ever taken place in the UK. Black was caught while attempting to abduct another young girl in 1990. Black has been linked to 13 more murders, not just in the UK, but also in Ireland, France, the Netherlands, and Germany. For his heinous crimes, Black received 11 life sentences. He died in 2016. Number 3. Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper. Peter William Sutcliffe was a familiar face to the prostitutes of Leeds and Bradford. However, Sutcliffe would become their worst nightmare. Later claiming to be on a mission from God, Sutcliffe, or the Yorkshire Ripper as he would come to be known, would slaughter 13 women between 1975 and 1980, mainly prostitutes. He would often use a hammer, then a sharp object once his victims were unconscious. He also viciously attacked many other women before being apprehended. The Ripper will never be released. However, in August 2016, he was judged to be mentally stable enough to move from the psychiatric hospital he's called home for 35 years to a maximum security jail. Number 2. Dennis Nilsen. The former army chef and sexual deviant Nilsen began killing in 1978. He targeted vulnerable, young, mostly gay or homeless men. He would find his victims in bars and would offer a warm bed and a meal. Sadly, Nilsen did much more than just give them shelter. When they arrived at his home, Nilsen would strangle and then drown the men. Sickeningly, he would then carefully wash and clothe the bodies before keeping them as his companions for several months, before the smell of the corpses rotting became too unbearable and the bodies would then be hacked apart. Nilsen would then burn the remains or flush them down the toilet. Eventually, Nilsen was caught when the drains in his home became blocked, with the grisly remains being discovered by plumbers. 15 men were killed by Nilsen over 4 years. Dishonorable mentions: Myra Hindley and Ian Brady, Harold Shipman, Steve Wright. Number 1. Fred and Rose West. The Wests were a match made in hell. Both had experienced traumatic upbringings that would lead to 12 gruesome killings between 1967 and 1987. The married couple abducted, tortured, raped and murdered 12 vulnerable young women. Their victims were often schoolgirls who had run from home, or on 2 occasions, the pregnant lovers of Fred. Their final killing was of their daughter Heather, who was threatening to expose the lifetime of abuse she'd received. Heather was buried underneath the tiles in the West's garden. Fred would warn the other children not to misbehave, otherwise they'd end up under the patio like Heather.
While Rose would be convicted of 10 murders, Fred would escape justice as he hanged himself while awaiting trial in 1995.